It was on a night just like this when a little girl got lost in the woods. Her name was Cassie and she was on a camping trip with her Girl Scout troop. On their first night in the camp, everyone gathered around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and singing songs. They had all been instructed to stay together and the counselors warned them not to stray into the woods. However, Cassie was bored and she heard a rustle in the bushes nearby. She thought it might be a squirrel or a rabbit. She loved animals and had always wanted a pet. She thought she might catch it and play with it. While everyone else was having fun, Cassie quietly slipped away and followed the sound. It was very dark and cold that night in the woods and eventually, the little girl became lost. It wasn't long before the little girl's friends noticed she was missing. They told the camp counselors and the rest of the girls were ushered back to their cabins. The camp counselors were frantic. They gathered their flashlights and set out to look for Cassie. That night, a terrible thunderstorm blew in. The weather was so bad that it was impossible to keep looking for the missing girl. The counselors decided they would have to turn back and continue the search after the storm had passed. However, one female counselor refused to give up. With the rain pelting her face and the wind almost cutting through her and the thunder rumbling up above and the lightning flashing all around, she bravely trudged through the dark woods, calling the little girl's name over and over. The sound of her cries were carried on the wind and could be heard all the way back at the camp. As the night wore on, her cries became weaker and weaker until they just faded away. The violent thunderstorm continued through the night, but by morning, it was over and everything still again. However, the camp counselors still hadn't returned and there was no sign of the little girl either. The other counselors called the park rangers and told them they had 2 people missing. A search party was formed, and they combed the woods, but they never found any trace of Cassie or the missing counselor. That was 10 years ago, but some people say that if you go to the camp at night, you can still hear the ghost of the missing counselor calling out the little girl's name. If you're lucky, you might also see the shadowy figure of a little girl flitting through the trees.